guys, you're watching That Tattoo Chick. So, I decided I was going to come out to my spot today because I haven't really been coming out here to do these videos because it's been like cold and snowy and like ridiculous. But all the snow's melted and it's kind of warmer out today and it's absolutely beautiful. So I decided that I'd come out to my spot, and on my way out to my spot, actually when I came upon it, I came upon $1. So I'm going to take this as a good sign, and I'm going to use it in a prosperity spell. So, awesome. I'm going to kind of make this video quick because there's a ground squirrel over here that's like bitching at me. Apparently I've disturbed him. So, and they're supposed to be hibernating right now, so I've pretty much pissed him off. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about was Samhain. Samhain's coming up. For those of you who don't know what Samhain is, it's also known as Halloween, and it falls on October 31st and carries over to the morning of November 1st. And Samhain's actually the Celtic name. It was originally a Celtic festival. It was the last of the harvest festivals. So crops are kind of last of the crops are being, pulled up or whatever. And it's also when the Celts thought that the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. So spirits roam the earth on Samhain, and people did divination and stuff like that because it was believed that the Druids could actually contact the dead easier because they were right there among them. So, and it's also considered to be the witch's new year, and that's why, because from now on the veil will be getting thicker, and it's really a time to reflect on endings and beginnings. So what the ancients would do to celebrate Samhain, some of them would have what's called dumb feasts. Basically, a dumb feast is where you have a feast set up. Of course, that kind of combines the elements of it being the last harvest and of it being, the night when the dead walk the earth. So it combines these two ideas, and they'd have a dumb feast. And basically what a dumb feast is you set out an entire table, and you basically hold a feast, and you leave places set out for your ancestors, for loved ones that have passed on the year before, and you're supposed to eat in silence. And then you leave those plates outside of your doorstep, and leave your lanterns on all night. That's what they did back then. And the reasoning for this was because, well, the dead were walking the earth this night. They didn't want them to go hungry, and they wanted them, to let them know that they were being remembered, and they wanted them to be able to find their way home. So that's basically the logic behind that. Like I said, it was also a time when divination was done by the priests, and, just a really cool holiday. This squirrel is like going nuts over here. But anyway, so those are some of the things that they would do on Samhain. And they would hold big bonfires. We actually get our tradition of dressing up in costumes and carving jack-o'-lanterns and all that. We get those traditions from the Celts because they didn't believe that all the spirits that roam the earth were good. In fact, they believed some of them were bad. So some people would dress up in costumes, namely the Druids, the holy people, the shamans or whatever, would dress up in costume to try to confuse the demons and scare them. Now, they didn't have pumpkins, so they didn't carve jack-o'-lanterns as we know as pumpkins, but they did have turnips, and that's what they carved rather than pumpkins. The tradition of the pumpkin didn't get carried over until the Irish moved here during the Great Potato Famine. So that's when that actually happened. Also, the thing about trick-or-treating came from the Celts, and I say came from the Celts, was actually a result of the Celtic tradition, because people started realizing, hey, I can, scare my neighbors into giving me stuff for free or whatever. So people started dressing up in a costume and basically going around and terrorizing their neighbors, saying, hey, give me a treat or I'm going to burn your house down, kind of a thing. Give me something or I'm going to steal your chickens or something, So, I mean, it was like they would do, and it's become a lot more innocent these days, but back then it was, there was a lot of vandalism and a lot of theft and, arson and shit like that went on as a result of people not, buying into it. So that was actually how trick-or-treating got started. Anyway, so some things that you can do to celebrate Samhain. What you need to remember is that it's a time to reflect on death and rebirth, the cycle that is ending and beginning all at the same time. And some things that you can do is you can do divination, of course. This is an excellent time to do divination. So break out your tarot cards, break out your pendulums, your scrying bowls, your scrying mirrors, anything like that, and do a little bit of divination for yourself. I mean, like I said, you know, this is the time when the veil is at its thinnest. So this would be the easiest time to be able to, you know, divine those things. Also, you can hold your own dumb feast and leave an offering out for your ancestors or for the god and goddess, whichever you prefer to do. You can also, I know a lot of people hold labyrinths. For those of you who don't know what a labyrinth is, it's not like labyrinth like you would think of like the movie or anything. And it's not like a maze. Pretty much it's this spiral pattern that you walk, and you can't get lost. You're supposed to contemplate like the spiral of life and death and rebirth and all that. And it's usually lit by like candles and stuff like that. It can be like a stone path or just, you know, a path drawn on the sidewalk or something like that for people to walk. But it's very cool. I know there's this festival back in, well, I lived in Arkansas, but it was in Memphis, Tennessee. They had, I think, what was called Festival of Souls. I never actually got to go, but I heard that they had like the best labyrinth ever. And it was like supposed to be like really cool. They had candles and stuff like that lit the path, and like it was just a really solemn, reflective, introspective thing to do. So that's a good thing. If you have the opportunity to go to a labyrinth, I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I say a lot of fun. I've heard it's a great spiritual experience, so definitely do that. You can also just on your own meditate on death, rebirth, you know, the cycle, you know, do some chanting, some drumming, you know, say a prayer to your ancestors, leave an offering out for your ancestors. If you want to kind of combine Halloween and Samhain, because they're not the same thing, you can hold a seance. That's kind of like a Halloween-y thing and, you know, a form of getting in touch with your ancestors. So you can also do that. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Now, the reason that I say that Halloween and Samhain are not the same thing, and this is just my personal opinion, Samhain to me is a very sacred time. It's a very holy time. It's a time for reflection, and it's a very deep spiritual time for me. You can really feel the energies. For me, Halloween is very commercialized, and it's more fun. You know, it's really secular. It has nothing to do with religion. In fact, most of the symbolism behind everything that people do on Halloween has been lost. So if you want to go to a Halloween party and call it your Samhain thing, that's fine if that's what you want to do. Personally, I do a ritual for Samhain and then afterwards do my Halloween thing. So I do definitely differentiate between Halloween and Samhain. Just because they fall on the same days and have the same kind of traditions doesn't mean they have the same meaning. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Like I said, some people may disagree with me, and that's fine. It's entirely up to you. Personally, today I am going to carve my pumpkin and roast some pumpkin seeds and set that out. So awesome. But anyway, hope you guys found this video informative. Hope you liked it. And merry meet, merry part until we merry meet again. Blessed be.